Welcome to the Bridge of Love. My name is Erin Cameron. Thanks for joining me. Today we're on episode 18, which I find very synchronistic with my daughter Hadden's 18th birthday, which was just a few days ago, last week. No accident there. There are no accidents. So thanks for joining me. This episode is called The Wisdom the wisdom we come here with. And all of this episode started coming into me when I have this wall of photos that is behind in a back on a back wall of my kitchen, and it's all of these old photos of me and her, and some just her. Old meaning, she's 18 now, so some of them she was like, firstborn, really, weeks old, months old, toddler age, and I'm really not great at framing things. I think everything in my house that is framed and hung on the wall is because my parents helped me do that. My mom usually. So I just have all these pictures, and they're kind of just shoved in where they fit, like. And I get to look at them when I'm making coffee or making her meds in this one counter. And I was looking at those photos a couple weeks ago, and I had this epiphany because now that I've connected to her on a soul level for so long, that when I looked at her, I saw in the photos how wise she was. And it hit me like she came here with on the day she was born, the essence of her was always there. And she came here with that. And I saw it in those photos. And I think I saw a particular one, a very early photo of, she's weeks old or something. And then I started looking at all of them, and I saw this same essence. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's had all of this. I could see her wisdom, I could see her soul. And of course, her full essence was there the whole time. But what I saw in her face and in her physical expression, as I saw it, I saw all of her wisdom and her soul. All of that wisdom just coming straight through the photo. And I knew that she held it from the moment she got here. So this is all just this one giant epiphany. And what also came to me that she was such a pure soul expression in those, because when the soul is allowed to express in a body, no matter how young, it comes through. And from the human perspective, seems so wise because it is, and it holds. I could just see all of the wisdom she was holding. And it just blew me away because we think we have to go through life to learn and become wise, like go through our whole life to get there, right? And to be wise. And I had the realization that she came here with all of it. And this is not just her. We all come here with all of it. And that's this next level. That is living, that is ascension when you're living in the new earth, when you're living connected to your soul. It's the next level. It's just where we are now, and where I realize that I live with her. And when you allow that through, the energy of your soul, it also deeply resonates with your human, to the point where it's almost this state of bliss or ecstasy, which sounds kind of ridiculous, but it's because we're not used to it. And because we shut it out, we shut it off for so long. And children don't do this. This is why they're so happy. Most children don't do this for the first 5 or 6 years of their lives. And the other thing that came through was that there was nothing stopping me. There was never anything stopping me from communicating with her. Not a disability, not a possible diagnosis, something wrong, something, out of normal, not normal. None of this was ever stopping me from connecting with her. Um, but I did experience that when I brought her home. And I remember, that trying to wave my, when I brought her home and she wasn't looking at me. I remember holding her. We're like in her bedroom and just me and her. And she wasn't looking at me. And when her eyes weren't focused on me, I remember feeling really scared and I felt really freaked out and felt that something was wrong. Like, why can't she look at me? I remember just wanting that. And I don't know if I've told this story before. But I remember waving my hand in front of her face, like, come on, kid, like, you got this. And wanting her to react, to blink, to focus, anything. And there just wasn't a lot of response. Not that I never got that from her, but in this moment, I was like, okay, I wanted it right then, exactly how I wanted to see her. And I wanted some reflection of normal. And I wasn't getting it. And I kind of sort of got fixated on it in that moment, I remember. And now I know the truth is that she designed herself a certain way so that more of her soul energy could be present. And what I believe is a very high frequency soul energy that might not otherwise, or it might otherwise overwhelm a more functional child. And I go back to her birth, and I remember this moment. I'll just say it, it used to be my pet peeve when people would describe their entire, in detail, birth experiences. So no one needs to know the details. So I will spare you that story. We all have it, and it's sacred. But yeah, just a funny pet peeve of Aaron's. So I'll spare you the entire story. But long story short, when I think back to her birth, as soon as she entered the world, they had to take her over to an exam table because she wasn't breathing. And one thing that happened here, I remember being super calm and just knowing, like, I had no doubt. It's so weird to think back, but I had no doubt. It was like, this is my kid. She's going to breathe. And like minutes went by, I think. I don't know. But it was freaking everyone out, I'm sure. And except for me, and for some odd reason, which is probably not that odd and probably a lot deeper than I know. And because I was connected to her, so connected to her, I just knew, like, she's going to be fine. And I'm laying there thinking, that's my kid. She's going to breathe. And I had zero doubt that it's just, I still remember that moment. And then she breathed and she started crying. And once they got a look at her, did their assessment and made sure she was stable, they wrapped her up and brought her over to me. They didn't even hand her to me. They just stuck her in front of my face. So she's like hovering above me, being in the hands of a nurse, with her face really close to mine. And I think the whole point of this episode now is that now she's 18 and just had her 18th birthday, and how in one world we think of that as some kind of higher level, they're an adult now, they have adult level of existence. But in another world, all of her consciousness has been there the whole time. And just to frame it again, right? And I'll never forget, she looked me straight in the eyes, and she knew who I was. And it was like she was saying, "You, I know you. I've been looking for you." It was this level of recognition that was almost shocking. And if I think about it, I know now that it's possible that her eyes were highly focused and she was highly aware because she wasn't on any medications for her seizures yet. I just feel like that's a possibility, right? And probably a factor in how alert she was, even though she was just born. They didn't really know anything at this point about her condition, so they hadn't treated it. Obviously, this is minutes after she was born. And thinking back just how beautiful that was, that moment with her. And I've always had this memory, and it's always been special to me. But as I evolve in consciousness and come into more awareness around her in different parts of her life, I know now how connected we were, and that energetically we're connected. But also, if you think about the soul expressing through the body, right? And that babies are sort of this pure soul expression because they haven't developed any other form of expression. I think that's what makes them so magnetic and pure and innocent and blissful. Unless I need something from you. So it literally was the first moment of soul recognition for us, at least in the human form. The first moment actually would have been a sunrise that I saw the morning I found out I was pregnant with her. And it was the most beautiful sunrise I've ever seen. I was on my way to work, and I used to get to work at like 6:30 in the morning. And it was the only sunrise I ever remember seeing. And I knew it was her, like her announcing her arrival, kind of. And I had just found out I was pregnant with her. So it was like that morning. And just, so that's probably was the very first time. Okay, no, the first time was when she came in my dream. I've probably told you that story. And that's how I knew her name. Okay, so second one. And the other form of, I would call, soul recognition that I experienced was just getting to know her while she was in the womb. And I felt highly connected to her then. I felt like I was getting to know her more and more that entire 9 months. And for example, when I started to name her, I knew her name was Hadden from that dream. But I knew, because I was getting to know her, I knew I wasn't going to call her Hattie, which would be the short version of Hadden, that nickname didn't fit her. I was like, that's not her. And it's never been. So I guess just the point, that point about that moment that we recognized each other, that she recognized me. She hadn't seen me yet. And she looked at me and her eyes lit up. And I swear it was like this moment of recognition. And she may have well said out loud, "You, I know you. I've been looking for you. Where have you been?" Like that's what was coming through her. And, like, you're the one I've been looking for and waiting for, because the natural thing, right, when you're born is to be handed directly to your mom. That's just usually what happens. And we didn't have that moment because they wanted to make sure she was healthy and stable. In fact, because I was recovering, and she was taken straight to the NICU, the ICU, I didn't see her for 2 days. So yeah, I thought about that moment when I looked at those photos And I could see how wise and how present she was because I now know her energy on the soul level. I now know her as an energetic expression, and I can see that expression. It's the same one. It was always the same, of course, right? Um, from so early on, even at birth. And that memory of her recognizing me, I bring that up because it's kind of proof how connected we are on the soul level, always, always. Eternally, way before she came into my dream, way before she announced herself in a sunrise. That connection is why she could look at me in that moment and know, yep, that's my mom, and where the heck you been, almost like she was meeting me. And I'm sure not the only one that this happens to. But knowing that experience with the level of consciousness that she's taken me into is so cool. It just expands it for me. And all of this came in when I was just looking at her baby photos sometime around her 18th birthday recently. It was just wild. It also makes you think about time and how, on one level there is no time, and all of this is it's really beautiful. So, yeah, I know her on a soul level now, and I know her as an energetic expression, and she knew me as that when she was born, right? That was her experience. And um I bring this up, and I think it's important, and it was so revelatory for me because this opportunity to connect with these children, and this can be any child, it doesn't have to be a special needs child, because at that point you don't know, that early on, you don't know anyway, right? A lot of times, um, for years, maybe even. But any child, the opportunity is there to connect, no matter what their physical expression looks like, no matter what it might be judged to mean. All the third dimensional brain based trying to figure it out, analyzing, fixing, helping, figuring them out. There were a lot of people that really wanted to figure her out at birth, and they never did. She wasn't diagnosed until she was 6 years old. And I didn't care at that point. Hadden was Hadden, and I just didn't care. It didn't bother me. I knew she would be her no matter what. And whatever she had was beyond their knowledge. So it just didn't matter. And in some ways it still doesn't to me. But their diagnosis, all those third dimensional things, that thought-based reality, you can, and the opportunity is there now. And I believe we're creating it, that opportunity to connect on this higher level. And that's why they came in this way, to journey with us through these levels of consciousness and guide us into this place where we can connect with them from day one, regardless of their diagnosis. And what could you want more as a parent, on the most basic primal level, human level? Regardless, connecting with them from day one, regardless of their diagnosis. And honestly, especially because of it. Because I say this because the amount of soul energy that was allowed through when Hadden was born, I think was very high. If that makes sense. I want to say that's why the NICU nurses were always coming up to me, and they were like, I just love being near your baby's bin. Like, I just want to be near her. Probably times when we weren't around, and, they were experiencing her just by herself. And, she's amazing. Not just like she's cute. It was clearly an energy thing. And that to me is her soul. And they were experiencing that. And and this is over and over and over, numerous nurses coming up to me, and I don't know anything, right? I don't know anything about any of this stuff, but that was my experience, and that was their experience. And so very especially for these children and babies being born with what might seem to be neurological or developmental issues, I think this is a beautiful opportunity and realization from this work that if you're on this path, you're on it for a reason. And this opportunity is there to connect to them. And I didn't know that. There is a level where I always connected to her through love, and that was always there. And you're getting that benefit and you're evolving with them and journeying with them no matter what, as long as you're tuned into that love. So nothing you really need to do, right? And I was highly connected to Hadden through that. And I think that was part of our plan, for sure. But still clouding that was judgment, was fear, was stress, was worry, was every third and fourth dimensional reality, concept, thought-based reality concept that you could think of. They were all there too, and clouding that connection that we naturally have through love and had it all along. And my experience, included those. A little cloudy at times. The other thing I would point out here is that the wisdom they're coming in with is there, you could even say before birth, right? And you can connect to that and communicate with them at any point in your journey with them through life. I connected to her through a sunrise, and I knew it was her. And this is before I really knew much about, okay, I mean, I definitely had a few experiences, and you've heard them, of connecting with loved ones that have passed. So yes, I had that a little bit, but this is a little bit unaware Erin. Like I still had that. I was still communicating with her even before she was born. And I think that opportunity is just, I think we're all more aware of it now. And there's a reason for that. And it is my belief and my knowing, and part of why I wanted to start the podcast and create this platform is because I know that Hadden's not the only one with this high frequency, um, she's not the only one, obviously, that holds this wisdom. We all hold this wisdom. We all do. They're just showing us, they're sort of the connector for us in a way. But I really, truly believe that these souls came in with a very specialized purpose. And as their parent or caregiver, or even somebody that works closely with them, anyone in their life, but, very specifically, obviously parents, anyone who's connected through love naturally, you have the best opportunity to access this wisdom for yourself and for the collective. They're, in a sense, I think, bringing it through anyway, just through their physical presence. And I've talked about that before, but I think we connect to it more deeply, connecting to them in channel and non-verbally and through love. All of that helps us to ascend in our vibration, in our level of consciousness, to meet them where they are. And that's the point. That's the point of all of this. So yes, they're coming here with all of it. And we can, what I said in creating my course and my community is that we amplify this purpose by tuning into it, right? Because when you're taking multiple strings of consciousness and bringing through very intentionally all of that energy, what it really does is it clears your own vibrational field and other energetic sort of non-truths that might be there in your field. And it magnifies what they're here to bring, which is consciousness. So if you'd like to learn how to do that, I'd be happy to guide you in a private Soul Speak session. And you can take the course. That is a awesome framework around nonverbal communication. And if you'd like more advanced or more personalized, more one-on-one guidance, that's what the private sessions are for. And I just think this is a really amazing time. And how amazing is it that there's an opportunity to see their perfection the day that they're born and to connect to it from that point forward, not waiting for a cure, not waiting till their eyes can focus on you and not waiting for all those normal milestones and not even needing the cure, not even needing any of it. Hadden has said that in the fifth dimension, she is healed. She said that really early on in her messages. And that is taking on more and more of a deeper meaning for me as I raise my own consciousness. And I think there are infinite potentials for what that looks like for them and for all of us in these higher levels of consciousness. It's why I'm doing this. Why I'm venturing into the unknown, because I just have this feeling that there are a lot of possibilities that we couldn't think of in our current level of consciousness, right? And we go there together and we expand what's possible. And if you'd like to experience those potentials, our community is where that would occur, the Divine Ability Collective. That's where it's at in the higher vibrations, within those messages that come through, within that energy that is present, that we all bring through together. And if you want to experience those monthly, as well as a community that's gathered with that common purpose, you're welcome to join us. So when I started this work, I said I wanted to increase the vibration around special needs kids and their families and their caregivers. And that's absolutely still true to this day. I think my realization there has been that I just had to do that for myself. And this communication was my way. Soul Speak was my way of getting into higher levels of consciousness with Hadden and raising the vibration around us. They're already there, but when you meet them there, you hold a common field. You're holding a common field, energetic field. And it's really powerful. And that's really what you came here for, is that shared experience, that full shared experience in higher consciousness. And this can happen in the most seemingly average everyday moments. Okay, that's the beauty of consciousness. It can turn any moment into pure magic. And I experience it all the time with Hadden. And we don't need to go anywhere. We don't need to do anything. It's amazing. You get that full shared experience in higher consciousness. The full, what I would call it, I would call it the full Hadden experience. But whatever your child's name is, the full experience with them is accessible through your heart, in the fifth dimension, through the soul connection, and through nonverbal communication. All of those things exist in the new earth reality that we're co-creating with them. So this is all a co-creation. They didn't come here to hang out by themselves, right? They never have, because they've always had caregivers, at least, right? There's always someone around them helping them. That's my experience with Hadden. And it's a really beautiful way of things. Sometimes those little things that you're like, this is just how things are, but how simply beautiful is that they attract these people to them to help. But really what they're doing is sort of guiding through levels of consciousness. Um, I remember this Abraham Hicks quote. One time, her guides were like, "You came here and you were like, I'm here. Treat me really good." And they were always pretty funny. And I just saw this clip like I don't know, in the last week or so. You came here and you were like, I'm here. Treat me really good. That's it, right? And that's what your soul knows. It's what it thinks it about all of this, that you just have to be here to be treated really well. That's it. There's nothing you have to do. And that's what these kids powerfully created through their soul energy just for being here. They got treated really good. And my point is that all of those interactions with their caregivers, parents, anyone in their reality, all of them are, on every level, those interactions have a purpose. They are orchestrated on the soul level. And those are the ones, those pairings, the mother, daughter, father, daughter, sister, brother, mother, son, any of those, parents and caregivers. And those are purposeful soul level. You can call them contracts, but, whatever. It's very clear to me. And Hadden has said in a lot of messages that I've received from her that we chose this life together. This particular life with these particular, what seemingly challenged circumstances, right? And that is part of what she teaches in the course as well, is that since you chose this, that's your indicator that you have everything you need inside of you. Of course, we all do, to communicate in this way and to connect in this way. And these photos just sent me all the way back and gave me this giant epiphany that opportunity was there the whole time. I just saw all of her soul and all of her wisdom coming through as much as possible, coming through that cute little human. And I saw by the look on her face, just the essence of her, and all of it came through. And I can't tell you how valuable that is. To see the full Hadden. You guys, it's truly like this whole time I've been learning about channeling and telepathy and connecting on the soul level. And I was getting, I could feel and I could sense, and I knew I was getting a fuller picture of her as I went along. And, interacting with her physical expression, her physical self, and sort of integrating all of this on an everyday basis. And that's what I love, is that I could apply it to this life with this person that I love. I could tell that I was, in a sense, seeing more of her. And I do talk about that in the course too, and learning about more about her as a total being, right? But when I saw those photos and that moment of realization hit me, it truly felt like I went up a level. Like, it was, yeah. It just, thumbs up if you didn't see it. Everything felt like it came full circle. Everything that I've been through, everything I've learned, I saw it with my eyes, like, with my physical senses. And it ended up changing what I saw in a photo. All the stuff that I've been learning, it literally changed, and it changed my, experience of her at that age. So I used to look at those photos and, of course I think she's precious and angelic and, adorable. And I would remember back to good parts of those memories, right? Um, but I know a lot of what I was seeing a lot of times was like the poor baby, you know, that had to stay in the hospital for 9.5 weeks. And, you know, after she was born and everything she's been through, right, through her younger years, was not easy. And she is certainly the strongest person I know. Um, and now I look at the same photos and see this magnificent being. I see all of her. I see her human, you know, the human expression, her personality. But I saw something bigger when I had that realization, and it was her soul. And it was such a big deal to me um, that I really wanted to share it with you guys. And I think it says so much about the value of this form of connection and communication, and the value of this work, and the value of these kids, and what it truly means to meet them in these higher levels of consciousness. And I think this is just an amazing example of how it truly changes your perception in a way that's almost hard to put into words. Hopefully, I'm doing an okay job of it. But just to know that all of us come here with everything. All of our soul wisdom is already within us. It's already there. All of it. We don't need to get older to be wise. You know, the human experience, of course, makes us wise, but where humanity is going is to a place where everything comes through that soul part of us. Through that soul part of us, through our human and into existence. That is creation in the new earth. And I think that's going to be more freely expressed in the new earth, in the fifth dimension, because we're aware of it, and because we're not stopping it in that our thought-based reality, you know, because it's seen and known and respected and revered. Everything that we truly are is seen. And I saw it in a photo, and then I saw it in some more photos, and I just looked right down the line and I could see it in every single one. And she's like 2 weeks old, 2 years old, you know, like amazing. Um, the soul level has a lot of reverence. I feel that a lot when I'm in channel, and so helpful to feel that after, you know, the things you have to go through as a special needs parent. You're like, oh, good, I'm getting some respect. At least my soul gets it. So there's a lot of reverence that comes from the soul level, and I think we're actually going to have that for these kids when they're born into the new earth, when that's really where we're living. And pretty sure I'm there. So, you know, if you'd like to join us. um, and what's also interesting, another thing, you know, when I very first started all of this, I used to say, you know, my dream, and it's still my dream. I think I just spelled it out, is that these kids are born, and instead of going into fear and worry and stress and telling the parents there's something wrong or might be wrong with their child, that the babies are celebrated in a sense, that the reaction is more recognizing what they're bringing in, you know, if they're born, quote, different. So the reaction is more like, in my dream, oh yeah, you got one of these, you got a special one, you know, and shifting that belief. So as a parent, you get this more true representation of the gifts that they have and that they're bringing into the world. Does that make sense? Instead of, oh my gosh, you know, we did have such a beautiful experience filled with love, you know, when Hadden was born. but there was so much fear and zero recognition of any importance of her being here. And even, quite the opposite, one doctor telling us we should just stop feeding her. Thanks, but no thanks. For, these kids when they're born, to have a sort of a level of, again, like that reverence, wow, you got one of the special ones, right? And of course, the doctors and staff, hospital staffs, they're going to support them and make sure they stay healthy, and that's what hospitals are for, right? But I have that vision. I've had it for a really long time that's going to occur. I can see it, and that will be in the collective consciousness at some point, and the parents and the doctors and everyone will feel that level of recognition more than the fear of what might happen. When you can feel that your child is here for a purpose that's bigger than you could have imagined, because that's what consciousness is. That's what our soul is. And just having that be, having that be the predominant feeling. I feel like what we're doing with these kids is creating a path that will be known to the point where it is the collective belief that they are bringing through so much soul energy, and that is their contribution. And if they were designed in a different way, or they were more normal, how many times can I put the word normal in quotes on my podcast? Someday we'll have a reel of Erin quote moments after, 100 episodes or something. We'll do that. How many times does Erin quote normal? If they were designed more normally, I gotta quote it again, they might not have that same ability to bring all of that energy in. And so that's my dream. That's my vision. And I think when we see those things, we create them. And I think we're here to create our own visions with our kids. Anyone that's interacting with these amazing people that didn't show up in a normal way, I think that's the opportunity. And those visions and those realizations, they come as you find your way into these higher levels of consciousness. I don't get them when I'm stressed out. I don't, I don't get them when I'm worried about stuff. I don't get them when I'm, overthinking things or trying to analyze. That's not where you get those giant, deep realizations and dreams and visions. They come in the higher levels of consciousness in which these kids already exist. They come through your soul, and all of that is available to you now. And all of it is accessible from within you now. And I think that's the beautiful thing about connecting in the way that these beautiful humans really came here to connect with us. It puts us in these higher levels of consciousness. You got to get there. You got to get there. And many of you already are. So it's a lot more fun there. And yeah, it's our, it's all, we come here with all of it. They do, but we do as well. So thank you for watching and listening today. And I hope this lands in a way that opens your heart to all that these kids are here to bring and all that they're here to share with us and all that they're here to lead us into. I appreciate all of you, and I hope you have a fantastic day wherever and whenever you are watching this. Thanks so much. Take care.